somebody who I don't know where it comes from, has learned to appreciate the importance of this land. Somebody who takes the enjoyment out of making people cry to understand what we have here. What other story should I share? And that one story got me stuck. Right? Okay, so that's one short story about the importance that Eddie felt about the land of Israel. Another thing is that how do you make coffee in Israel? How do you make real coffee in Israel? Anyone know? Pakal cafe. You know what pakal cafe is? Little gas stove with a finjan on top, right? And you put Turkish coffee in it. That's how Israelis make coffee. Eddie used to sit there in the field or whatever it is. He used to take some dirt from the ground and put it in his coffee, so you have the taste of Eretz Israel in his coffee. This is the kind of connection that we're talking about to the land of Israel. So, what I didn't mention is that Eddie had his ups and downs in his connection to Judaism, how he felt religious, not religious. Sometimes he was apathetic, not interested, not involved. But when he was killed, we found in his backpack two things. Well, we got the backpack back from the police. The backpack we didn't get because they got buried with him, but the stuff which was inside his backpack, there were two things there. His tefillin and a book of Chassidut, a Torah book written by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And we found in this book, as you've seen in museums, I'm sure many times, a bullet hole in the back of the book, and a bullet stuck inside the book. Now, okay, this is, so first of all, what starts running through your mind? Well, this book stopped maybe another Jew being killed. This bullet could have had someone else's address on it, but the book stopped it. Wonderful. Then I started to read where the bullet had stopped. And the bullet stopped on a portion which is talking about where Eliyahu Navi is having a difficult time with the Jews. Jews had started to serve idols, and Eliyahu Navi had turned to them. Yeah, so first of all, Eliyahu Navi, my brother's name is Eliyahu. Okay, first of all. Secondly, we're talking about Eliyahu Navi is talking to the Jews, admonishing them for serving idols. And he says to them, Hebrew, how's the Hebrew level here? Not so good, right? Okay, I'll translate. It says, colloquially we say, for how long will you sit on both sides of the fence? Eli was somebody who sat on both sides of the fence. One day yes, one day no, one day to fit in, one day not to fit in. One day not sure, one day I'm not interested, one day, guys, I'm going back to yeshiva. It was always this up and down. And what happens at the end of the story with Eliyahu Navi says to these guys, to Israel, how long are we going to be on both sides of the fence? They go, he says, I'll make a competition with you. You bring a cow, slaughter it, put it on the mizbeach, on an altar. I'll do the same, and we'll both pray to our gods to come and burn up this cow. So the Jews come and they say to the god which they're worshipping, Baal, come and eat this up. Nothing doing. Eliyahu Navi says, God of the Jews, come and fire comes down from heaven and takes up the cow. At the end of the story, the Jews turn around to Eliyahu Navi and what do they say? They say, Hashem hu Elokim. Hashem is the only one God in this world. And that's our God. And what was so meaningful, or the whole point of my story, is that this bullet told us where Eli was at the end of his journey. That Eli was saying that there's only one God in this world. No matter how he had his journey through his life, at the end of the day, a bullet in his backpack told us very clearly where a Jew stands. And it's not just Eli, it's where any Jew stands. It's how we feel deep down, whether we know it or not. We know where we come from, we know where we're going to, and we know that there's only one God in this world. Your turn.
So part of that lesson of talking about his religious journey is that he had this kind of, I call it like the all or nothing. It's not all or nothing. And he believed in that. He believed it's not all or nothing, because one day, again, he came from a Chabad background. He was in yeshiva. He was learning 24 hours a day, basically. And then he went somewhere else and he did the opposite. But even when he was not really feeling anything, he knew where he was going to, he knew where he came from. And a couple of points where we see this is why did he bite off the bush? We see there's a reason why he bit off part of the bush, is because he wanted to demonstrate his connection to the land. And Eli never did anything that was kind of stunt. Like everything he did had a belief behind it, had something behind it. And the main thing we can learn from him is everything you do should have a purpose behind it. It shouldn't just be something arbitrary. And he lived on Nirem, which is by Gaza, as Kaz said, and it's not religious kibbutz. And in this kibbutz, they didn't allow the kids to have, most of these kids don't know anything about Judaism at all, but they didn't allow them to have any kind of religious gathering. So, Ali wasn't religious, so, why should he care? But the point is that he did care. And he said, wait, that doesn't roll with me. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can just not do anything. Something's important to me. So he took his guitar and his friends, and he was teaching them Shabbat songs. And every Friday night, they would sit down by the campfire, and he would play his guitar, and they would sing Kabbalat Shabbat, basically. And he said, well, it's not a minyan, it's not a religious gathering, so it's fine. We're just singing some Shabbat songs. But the fact that he decided, okay, I'm not keeping Shabbat at all, because the next day he'd be, watching movies, rolling his cigarettes, doing all the things that he would normally do on Shabbat, because he didn't keep it. But every Friday night he'd be like, nope, I'm gonna play my guitar and we're gonna sing Shabbat songs. And again, he's playing his guitar on Shabbat, but he's singing Shabbat songs. So we always had this kind of doing two things at once, but it wasn't all or nothing, because he chose to do something, even though he chose maybe not to do something else. And also the Shabbat before he was killed, we were at his apartment, and he'd made food, and he was so proud of us. He was showing us all the curry he'd made, and it was great. And he said, I also bought a Shabbat timer. I said, why'd you buy a Shabbat timer? He goes, well, I think this Shabbat, I'm gonna not cook on Shabbat. He was like, okay, this week I'm doing this one little thing, and that's gonna be my work for maybe the week, maybe the month, maybe the year. I don't know. Maybe this is the only thing I do this entire year, but I'm gonna do something. So whatever else he did, it doesn't really matter, because he had the Shabbat timer and he used that on his last Shabbat. And so this kind of religious journey, we saw a pattern with it, and that it would just kind of go up and down. And it seemed so random, but now, looking back, it wasn't really so random, because everything he did was based on how he felt in the moment. He was very true to himself about exactly how he was feeling in that moment, was exactly what he was going to do. And if you felt differently, he wasn't going to listen to you. He was just going to do whatever he wanted anyway. And, like we said, we're not perfect. He wasn't perfect. He was stubborn. He was bullheaded. He wouldn't listen to you, even if you begged him to listen to you. You could tell him the same idea 1,000 times, and he'd just be like, nope, I'm doing this by myself. And then 2 weeks later, he'd be like, actually, I had a great idea. And it's the same thing you've been trying to tell him for weeks already, and you're smashing your head against the wall. Like, oh, thank God. But this is the kind of person we're talking about. He wouldn't do anything unless he believed it. And the second thing is that he had an amazing amount of respect for everybody. Again, we're talking about someone with his little brother, Hanan said, with a tongue that could cut the tallest man down. He could insult you like nobody's business, and it would hurt. It would really, really hurt. But if you saw him talking to a person that you knew he didn't like, you wouldn't even be able to tell, and that person would never be able to tell. Because he paid attention to them. He said the bottom line is, if I respect them, I'll learn to love them. Maybe. And if not, that's also okay. But that person will walk out of our conversation feeling as if he's received something. He's been respected. And through respect comes love. We know this, we know this about human relationships, that if you respect someone and if you take the time to help them, there's a bond that is created there. And even with people, he would come to us and say, oh, he just goes on, he won't stop talking. But if you looked from the outside on that conversation, you wouldn't know that anything was amiss, because all you see is someone who's smiling and talking and saying, oh yeah, sure, I'll help you. And it's not about loving everybody, because I don't love everybody. As a teenager, I definitely didn't love everybody. We're not all going to be friends, and that's okay. It's really okay. But not being friends means also that they're a human being. Eli saw everyone as a soul, as who we are as people, as we are a soul. And he saw everyone as a soul, and he said, that's it. God put him here. He's worthy of being here. God put me here. I'm worthy of being here. Let's make a connection. And we have people who came to tell us stories who we know were definitely not friends with him, but who told us these incredible stories about the times that he gave them advice, and he helped them, and he, sat with them for half an hour working at a problem or whatever it was. They weren't friends, but that's okay because that person was affected by what Eli said. And why we told his life story in such short is because it's not what he did that matters. It's how he did it. It's who he was when he did it. It's who he was when he got his guitar and played Kabbalat Shabbat. It's who he was when he took a bite out of the bush. And it's also who he was when he broke the lock of the rabbi's door and went out to drink his whiskey. It's what the motivation behind why he did it. And being a hero, we hear this about being a hero, of people who have died, soldiers, people who were killed in terrorist attacks. They're called heroes. And as we're sitting here thinking about it, we go, Eli, a hero? Okay, we love him. We think he's special. He got along with everybody. Okay, great.
So from what Shani was talking about, during Shiva, we had over thousands of people coming. We had all the people from around the world, and we're sitting there, two of us were busy talking, like, hey, he's a great guy. But to say, like, he's a hero, like, he's not Superman or anything like that. He's just a regular guy. My brother, normal dude. I wish he had no money in the bank account, didn't have a degree. He wasn't going to be an accountant at Wits or anything, be a doctor or anything. It's going to be a regular guy. But yet the response was that we've lost a hero.
And, and again, we got to see the behind the scenes. The family got to see the behind the scenes. And, we have all these people come out to us and telling us about all the amazing things we did. We're like, oh yeah, we've heard that story, But we didn't realize that when we heard those stories from Eli telling it to us, that the other person on the other end was having such an amazing reaction to it. Eli's like, yeah, I helped this guy, he was stuck, and I gave him some money, and then whatever. But then we hear the story on the news later, and we're like, oh my God, this person, his life is changed because of this moment. And being a hero means being a regular person, because Eli was an ordinary person, and we've told you the honest truth of that, and we told you the good sides, we told you the less good sides, we told you everything. And still, people look at him as a hero. And so what does it mean to be a hero? It means to be yourself. It means everything you do has to come from a belief. Everything you do has to be a motivation from within. I know who I am. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of me. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I know what I believe in. And to be honest, for me, I don't care what the heck you believe in. As long as you believe in it and you act upon that every single day. Because it doesn't matter to me your religious level. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on in any respect. I really don't care. All I care about is which side of the fence you're on, and that you go forward and you do everything in your life based on that, based on I know who I am, and so therefore I'm going to touch people with the skills that I know, because my skills are not the same as her skills and not the same as his skills. Even us, we have two different strengths in our lives, and we use each other to complement those strengths together to help people. And I could never do what Kaz does, and Kaz can never do what I do. But it works because I know what my tools are and I know what I can give to other people. And so I'm just going to read what we wrote. We spoke around a lot in America and England and just sharing the story. And so we wrote something to finish the speech off with. And it's about being a hero. A hero is a regular boy from South Africa with a big heart and lots of passion to do good. A hero is someone who remains true to themselves and stands by their values. A hero is someone whose accomplishments are measured not by the degree they hold, but by the impact they have on others daily. A hero can be anyone if they only tap into what makes them special and use that to affect positive change in the world around them and in the people they interact with. A hero is you and me and Eli if we only stick to who we are as the Jewish nation and our commitment to others and the God who put us here. As Eli put it best, there's a video of him jumping into a freezing cold lake and giving a joking speech he had no idea would be so true. He said, Im ani met, ahavti et kulchem, ani hayiti ani v'yala. If I die, I loved you all. I was myself, v'yala.
So, to make sense of all of what we've said, the one message which we will start from what Shani said is that be yourself. Being yourself is the most important thing. Obviously, at your age, again, I don't want to say like I'm that much older, but it takes time to work out who you are, who you want to be. I'm 27, I'm still working it out, and I'm sure my father-in-law at his age is still working it out. But be proud of who you are, be proud of the opinions that you hold, be proud of where you come from, where you're going to, be proud of your heritage, be proud to be you. That's the most important thing. Don't let other people's opinions, and even, now I may get kicked out for saying this, or your parents' opinions of what you should do, what you should go do with your life. I also grew up in South Africa, and Australia's the same thing, I think. But the pressure to finish this year, go back and become an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is. Am I right? Am I right, sort of? Is there, who here feels that pressure, be honest? Yeah, go on. Yeah, alright, so I'm on the ball. We feel a lot of pressure to be somebody that someone else wants us to be, or society wants us to be. And we've seen with Eli that he was none of that. And look at the response of the connection that he's made, or the impact he's had on the world around him. So how much more so us, who thank God are alive and well, can continue to make an impact on the people around us. Number 2 is be a friend. I used to hate in school when they used to come talk to us about bullying. Because like, the guy drives me up the wall, what am I supposed to do? Like, how are you supposed to be, like, you just be nice to him. I can't, he's the most irritating person ever. Right? It happens, is that one person, she drives you up the wall, right? how are you supposed to deal with it, right? Like, just be nice to her. No, that's the most infuriating thing you could ever say to somebody. Just be nice to them. You can't. That's the next lesson. If no one's asking you to love your fellow like yourself is a journey. The first step of that journey is respect. Whether you agree or disagree. No one's asking you to agree. We're asking people what we're asking you to do, or Eddie's asking you to do, is to respect. You can disagree fundamentally. Doesn't mean that you can't hold a conversation or give that person the time of day. The next point is about the journey of understanding the heritage that we have. Understanding what Yom Hazikaron is, understanding what Eretz Yisrael is, understanding what our connection to Eretz Yisrael is not going to come about through hearing one speech from Shani and I, or hearing about Eli Kay, or hearing about Michael Levine, or hearing about over 20,000 people who were killed to establish this country. It's a journey. And a journey which Eli went on, it's a journey which I've gone on, it's a journey which Shani goes on, it's a journey which our parents-in-law go on, and it's a journey which I go on every single day when I wake up. I wake up every morning, I put my gun in my pants, and I think, wait, it's a conscious decision about being a Jew, it's a conscious decision about living, it's a conscious decision about the impact that I'm going to go out and have on the world around me. And the last point, which I think I would like to finish off with, is, I don't know what you guys have done over the last day, but again, the Yom Hazikaron is a real feeling of mourning. And so, somebody who's been killed in a terror attack, excuse me, what are they called in Hebrew? Does anyone know? They're called
Korban.
Korban. So in Hebrew, somebody who's killed in a terror attack or killed, I think, in the army, it's called a Korban. What's a Korban? What does the sacrifice do? What does it do? Don't be shy. Why do we offer up a sacrifice?
Give up something.
Okay, and what do you get in return? Go, use your brain.
You for a greater cause, you get something like that's more than you can ever get if you held on to that thing.
Right. So that's pretty good. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. A korban is brought for a number of reasons. One's for atonement. One is for thanksgiving, and the last one is to bring down bracha. And my advice to everybody in this room and to people around the world is when you hear a story about somebody, and I'm sure you've had people who've spoken to you that there's somebody who was killed or this happened, it shouldn't be, oh, I heard such a sad story. Go up to that person and say to them, what blessing did that person bring down? With their loss, what have we gained? And that's what have you guys been to Yad Vashem? Right. It's not about seeing, oh, we lost 6 million. It's about what have we gained by losing 6 million? How are we better? What can we take from this? And that's what we go around doing, is telling about any stories, sharing values, so that you can come out with something to take away, something which you can say, wow, okay, I learned this from Eli Kay. It's not just a sad story of a boy who's 25 years old who was shot to death. It's a story of somebody who loved Israel, somebody who had respect for other people, and somebody who we can take many, many lessons from. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Don't be shy about, I don't know, the army, about Eli, about Israel, about... Don't be shy. I know, Gabby, they don't have anywhere to go, do they? No. No.
Are you ever scared living in Israel since the attack?
No. That's an honest. That's an honest.
The answer is no. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, but Eli's attack, I wouldn't say it was freak, but it was kind of freak, and at least maybe I'm just like from a different planet, but it's my land, it's my place, it's where I'm going to be, and no, I don't. Again, there's a difference between being scared and being cautious. For example, you don't go to the old city, you don't walk through the Arab Shuk on a Friday. Just don't do it, it's stupid. Don't go to Hebron on Ramadan, during Ramadan, or make sure you go in a safe way. There's ways to be aware of what you're doing.
You're from South Africa, and
Okay,
you're scared to live there. I'd be terrified.
You're not scared to leave South Africa?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'd be terrified living behind a wall. I'm just.
you take your precautions. It's the way your mind works.
But it's funny to hear. It's funny to hear them as South Africa. I'm American. I mean, yeah, Atlanta's dangerous too, but to hear them about how his little sister, who's 19, she can walk out and she can go on a bus by herself, and she can have her phone on her, and she can have jewelry, and she can have all these things, and to hear about their life in South Africa where she had to drive everywhere, and she could, as a 19-year-old, you can't go to the park. There's no park to hang out in. And now here she's free to do, to me, I look at that, I'm like, well, we have it pretty good here, don't we?
Also, one last thing about that is there's I feel a sense of living here. I feel that when I get up in the morning, it's not that I just live here. By me being here, I have a sense of shlichut. I have a sense of purpose and responsibility. I'm not saying that people lead meaningless lives elsewhere, not at all. But I feel a huge sense of meaning being here.
First of all, thank you for coming and sharing the stories. On the day of the funeral, you spoke and just really motivated everyone who heard you speak and encouraged people to step out, do mitzvahs, specifically you mentioned healing. I just wanted to know, do you have a sense of hatred in you for those people? Do you have a sense of hatred? Is that something that exists?
So you asked it, so I'll answer it. And this is my opinion. So I don't have a sense of hatred. I think that, and I'm not going to get political, and especially since I married Shani, because my father-in-law drives me nuts about all of this, in a good way, is trying to understand our situation. And the conclusion that I'm coming to is that it's not about me hating them. We're dealing, unfortunately, with a people whose entire being is about hating us, hating themselves, killing each other. It's a whole dynamic. So I pity them. I pity, I'm not going to say Muslims or Arabs. I don't know what, because I don't want to classify. There's good Arabs as well. There's good Muslims. There's Christian Arabs and there's Druze and there's all different things. But unfortunately, we're dealing with people who are bred to hate, and I feel bad for them. And don't ask me how we can reform that and how we can change that. But I think probably the answer is obviously a bit of the boot and the stick, but at the same time, light overcomes darkness, and it's about us understanding who we are, our right to this land, and being advocates, and engaging in conversation, and being proud Jews, and making a stand. Go on.
I've seen all these projects on Instagram or WhatsApp under Eddie's name. I was just curious, what do they do?
Okay, so we're in the process of doing a number of things. Please God, in the next couple of days, there'll be a Sefer Torah campaign coming out. And I'll send it to Benji. A letter costs $1, so it's 14 Rand a letter. Okay, our goal is to get as many people around the world to participate in the Sefer Torah, to bring more life into the world. Not only that, it's the Sefer Torah, which is going to be made half size, that when you guys go to Tiyul, put it in a backpack. There'll be a special backpack made for it. It'll be really light. You'll be able to take a Sefer Torah no matter where you go. The Sefer Torah will tour for Eli. We'll go through Eretz Israel, which Eli hadn't completed, going around. That's number one. Number two is we our long-term goal is to build a yeshuv, to build a settlement called Yeshuv Eli, a place that Urim Chadashim can come and live, a place that we can settle the land of Israel, that we can build a place based on Eli's values, which is, in short, religious and non-religious Jews living together, education for teens, but not just your regular King David high school education. I didn't do well in school because it didn't work for me. Agriculture, a broad sense of education, and most importantly, settling the land. Shani and I are working on a project. Please God, you guys should never know about this, about helping families get to that first 48 hours when something like this happens. And please God, those of you who stay in Israel, we need volunteers to help us to get something like this going. That's in the future. What else are we dealing with?
Lots of friends and people are doing different projects. There's going to be a memorial, and it's called Nofe Prat, Nachal Prat. It's a hike right by Kfar Adumim, Male Adumim, that area. And so, everyone's kind of taking on their own thing. People are lighting candles, people are doing tefillin, people are doing all kinds of different projects. But mostly we had to pick like 3 projects that were like, these are the most important things, because otherwise you get bogged down with the ton of
Kaz,
stuff.
is there anything that you like that is like you want to warn people about that does not have your approval?
Right.
Like, are you?
So I want to get that right now.
Yeah.
Use that. If you feel after this talk or ever in your life you want to do something for Eli, whatever it is, do it. Only thing you can't do is start a charity or a GoFundMe campaign in his name and to fundraise in his name. But if you want to do something, if you feel inspired from this talk, whatever it is, at the end of the day, anything you do based on his values is good. So if Chofshi, as they say, whatever really, our projects are what we've focused on right now, but I'm also trying to work on a Yad Vashem, but for those who were killed in terror attacks. So that's something that side of it takes time.
I'm not sure if you'll know, because I'm not sure if you've been back to the kibbutz since, but do you reckon those kids are still singing Kabbalah Shabbat on a Friday?
Well, we saw them today. They're not kids, they were his age. And
Most of them have left by now, but they he also had a chavruta. He had like a learning group with one of his friends who we just saw today. This guy does not understand a word of Yiddish, whatever. He doesn't know. They would learn in Yiddish, like he doesn't understand anything about Judaism, but they would learn, and so he told us, he's still kind of, trying to do it, and I think they have a stronger connection to Shabbat because of it. Like we talked to a few of them, and they were telling us about, one started lighting Shabbat candles, one's doing this, one is singing Kabbalah Shabbat. So even though they're all kind of now in their own, some people are in Beersheba, some people are in Jerusalem, but they're all still doing something on a Friday night because of him.
The answer is yes. The point is that you don't actually realize the effect that one interaction can have with another person. Someone could be there for one Friday night, come to visit their friend, and it could have changed their life. We don't have time for that now, but there are many stories of Eli's interaction. One talk, one conversation, hey man, nice to meet you, which have changed the way people live their lives. And the point is that we all can do that. Anybody else?
I don't know how to word the question, but I'm
You
going to
try.
word it away. But from being almost all family national heroes on TV and speaking against Ahmed and what is it going on, like where you are now in the last couple months, like where do you stand? How are you feeling? Like, how are you?
Right.
You said to me, so we were back at Shiva, me and Shani Kay, my friend, came to visit you. He said, like, I can't speak to you now, Gav, give me a few minutes, give me a few days, come past work when I'm back and speak. Like, where are you now? Like, I want to actually ask you, how are you? Like, where do you stand?
So, it's a very good question. Thank you for asking. So I'll share with you. I said this last night. Is that it's a very difficult challenge because on the one hand, I have a brother who's a hero, and I have a brother who I've got so much that I can talk about. Shani has a brother-in-law that we've got material for years, and I'm busy with all these different projects and all these different things. But at the same time, I don't focus enough on mourning. I don't actually sit down and say, see my friend, shit, I've lost a brother. Like my brother was shot to death. Like literally, like I saw my brother lying there dead in the hospital. Like this is what I've seen with my own eyes. I had to say goodbye to him. And it doesn't register. And there are times that it does. But it's important. It's an important lesson for life that there's ups and downs and there's time to focus on doing, and there's also you have to focus on being. Take this year for you guys, for example. I'm sure you're out there doing. But how often do we take the time to say, okay, I'm in Israel, it means this to me, it means I had this experience, what does that mean? It doesn't mean you have to become a guru and meditate, but it is important to actually stop for a minute and say, okay, what have I experienced today? How am I doing? This whole thing, the old joke about mental health, a mental health check, and, for goodness sake, I have to face mask, what day of the week? Because you take that 5 minutes to actually sit down and say, okay, how was my week? What did I do? How was your week? And that's what I've learned from this experience, is that you really got to make sure that you take in, especially today, we have so much information. Every time you look at your phone, you get a whole bunch of information. How much, the girls who came back from kibbutz today, sit down for 5 minutes and discuss how it was. What did you learn from it? And that's really what I've taken. So to answer your question, I'm sometimes okay, sometimes I'm not okay. It depends. Depends on the day. So, yeah. Anyone else? I wasn't very impressed. You all sat still for 40 minutes. Better than I could have done. Again, if anybody wants questions or any sort of interaction, WhatsApp me, I know from Gava. And yeah.
Just a little present from us.
You guys always
No
welcome
idea
to
how appropriate.
You always don't joke. You were at his place today, at his grave, and one of his friends, they had like some sort of deal that every time they saw each other they would say l'chaim. She poured a bottle of whiskey on his grave today. He's like, I'm sorry, it's not my calendar, so I'm going to finish. Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye,
Shani.
bye.